So as you might have known, there's been some leaks from the core refresh set, and I just ranked them what I think is all the way from S tier down to D tier, which is what the hell were the developers even thinking down here. Okay, just before we get started, I want to give a disclaimer and make it clear that this is not for investment advice. This is not for speculation on price or anything like that. This is purely for gameplay, purely for what I think these cards, how they're going to do in the meta, and it's just my opinion. So with that being said, let's start going through the cards. So S tier is basically, yeah, these cards are for sure going to be seen in play. There's a lot of use cases for them, and they're going to be put in, and I guess they're going to be placed into a lot of certain types of decks. So Light has seen some insane buffs this with the core refresh and these leaks. So we're going to go through those really quickly. Well, basically, we have the Prayer of the Desperate. Each of your creatures get with strength 2 or less get +2/+2. So it's basically like an overpowered Radiant Dawn. It does cost 1 more mana, but it still is going to be massive if you have this even onto 3 creatures. You're going to be getting a 6/6 stat with Blitz for 4 mana, basically. So I think in Light Zoo, this is going to be an insta add, which is why it's going to be S tier, because it's going to be insta added there. Wrong Path, I also put into S tier. It's not as strong, but I do think it is a super high value card. Maybe it could also be put into the A tier, but I just dropped it in an S. But basically, pull an enemy creature to the top of your opponent's deck, draw a card. So basically, you're gaining tempo as well as a card advantage, and there's no really way for your opponent to play around that. And that's why I put it into S tier. Because, for example, you have your Zoo board. They have a Guild Enforcer down on board, which costs them 5 mana. Now you wrong path it, so you gain tempo 2 mana because it costs them 5. You're removing a frontline Guild Enforcer. You're also placing it on the top of their deck, so that means that you know which card they're going to draw next. And also you're drawing a card, so now you have a card advantage, all for 3 mana. I think that's why this is an S tier. And then finally, the Merrick Keeper of the Many. So it's a 3 mana 2/3 hidden deception card, and after one of your creatures attacks the opponent's god, set this creature's strength to that creature's strength. So I think this is massive because deception has a lot of ways to buff up one of their hidden creatures, and especially if you have like a hidden rush deception playstyle, then you could basically run Dark Knives on let's say you have a Guild Enforcer on board. You double Dark Knives it, so now it's 9 attack. You hit face for 9 damage, you hide it, and then the Merrick and the Guild Enforcer will both be hidden as 9/9s. So I think there's some huge play potential with the Merrick Keeper of Many, and a lot of people do run Dark Knives. I think with this card in play, you'll also see even more Dark Knives being ran. But yeah, I think it's a super strong card for a rush deck. Okay, so A tier, we have the Judge Envoy. This honestly has potential for S depending on how we see it played, but because it is in the light category, just how light plays, I think that I put it into A tier, but we'll just have to see where that goes. It is a super strong A though. So basically you get a 6/6 massive stats and set an enemy creature strength to 0. So you basically get to disable an enemy creature and have a 6/6 body on board for 6 mana. That's pretty massive. We have the Canopy Sniper. I put this in A tier because it's an Amazon. After one of your Amazons attack, deal 1 damage to a random enemy creature. And it's a 1/3 Amazon. So why I like this is because now it gives Amazon some extra early pressure while you build up a board and are able to transition into the mid game where you can start buffing up your Amazons. I find that Amazon had a bit of a weak early game. So having this 2 mana on there, I think is going to be really helpful to help build your board while maintaining your creatures there. Okay, so we have the Helpful Ether Fox. This one is 2/3 Ether. Reduce the cost of a spell in hand that costs 3 or less to 0. So I think I put it in A tier because I personally love the Ether deck and the playstyle. It might be like a lower A, maybe a B even. But at the same time, we'll have to just see how this plays out. It could honestly, because there is another card that is like it currently. So you see Samsung here, as said in the Discord, Arcane Transcendent, or choose a spell that costs no more than your total mana gems, reduces cost by 2. So we do have a card that is similar to that already, and it doesn't really see much play. So we'll just have to really see. The Aether Fox could actually end up going down to B tier, but I just have a soft spot for Ether cards. Okay, so the B tiers, these are just solid cards, but they're nothing special, and they also aren't really standalone. So you need to play around certain things, which means that they're not going to be a super powerful card on their own. So basically, you have the Selfless Guildmate, which is hidden for 1 turn plus give +3 strength to another one of your guild creatures. So it's basically like a Dark Knife, but you have to put it on a guild creature, so that makes it a little bit weaker than a Dark Knife. You do get the 1/1, but it also might be nice to have extra ways to buff, considering you do have the Merrick. Whisper Baron hidden. When you summon a guild creature, this creature gains +1 strength. So you're going to actually need to have guild creatures to play, probably from your holo. The Ulfgar, Eater of Bears. After you play Viking, summon a 1/1 Valkner Raider and give it Blitz. So this is probably one of the better of the B tiers. But again, you're going to need to be having Vikings in hand. You're going to need to have Vikings to play. And basically, you actually need to at least have one Viking played in order to have this card even be worth the stats. So that's why it's just B tier. Okay, so C tier is ones that I may be unsure about. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be bad. It just means that I really don't know 100% whether this is going to work or not. Thought Siphon. So it's a 0 mana. Put a creature to sleep. If it was already sleeping, draw a card. But I don't know. That could just be taking up a slot in your deck. Okay, so then you have the Ether Snap. So I don't really know what the 1/1 static Ether bug is exactly. It could have ward or protected, or I'm not sure. The one thing I do know is that the Ethers usually rely on holding an Ether in hand to get the synergies. So since this is a spell, then it won't actually synergize with the other Ethers in that way. The only maybe use case I could really see with it is dropping it in front of a Skyweaver. So we'll just have to see how that plays out. And then we have the Light 6 mana Purification Filter. Each creature has their strength and health set to 0. So basically with Light, it's almost like a board reset, but at 6 mana with Light, do you really want to be resetting the board? I don't think so. That's why I put it down in the C tier. But again, I could be wrong on this one. But yeah, each creature having their health and strength set to 1. Let's say because like everybody is going to be playing against, they know what you have with Light. They know that you're going to be carrying buff cards, right? So they know you're going to have a Prayer of the Desperate. They know you're going to have Radiant Dawn. So if they see you reset the board and then you have a bunch of 1/1s and you can't really do anything after that because you already spent 6 mana to do it, they're just going to like throw everything they have at you to clear your 1/1s. And it's not too hard to clear a few 1/1s. So basically that's for that reason, I think that the Purification Filter is pretty trash. But we'll have to see. Maybe there is some better use cases for it. All right, finally, we have the what the hell D tier. 3 mana Prophet of Doom. Increase the cost of 6 and 7 mana spells in your opponent's hand by 1. And it's a 1/4. This is like really slow for Light. I don't know. I think this is just trash. I don't think anybody's going to run this. But then again, I could be totally wrong again. I don't play a lot of Light. Maybe someone in the comments can correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think that this is the worst card of the bunch and it's going to see almost no play. All right, so that is the tier list. I think with all these Light buffs, it's going to be really strong coming into the meta. There's some pretty big cards like the Prayer of Desperate, Wrong Path, even the Judge Envoy. So if you're interested in starting to learn how to play Light, a lot of people haven't really touched it that much yet because it's been so weak. Then I have a video, you can check it over here, which is a pretty budget Light deck that you can start playing with in preparation for these cards to come into the game. But with that being said, thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next video.